We have a mic on that side. There are mics here. The mics are mainly for recording to go into the camera. So we're going to move them around a little. So we are always speaking into the recording. So let's start with you, Ajay.
Yeah, thanks. And good evening, everyone. I'm Ajay Kapoor from FabIndia, a brand which is celebrating India for the last 63 years. We have a presence with 357 stores across 127 cities in India, and we are also present internationally with 13 stores around 7 countries.
Hi, good evening everyone. My name is Kapil. I'm from Excel Retail. So we are the biggest franchisee for Skechers. Jockey, we do a lot of brands. We have 38 stores across India. We are into retailing. So we have brands like FabIndia also. We have franchisee, Mega Mart, Skechers, Jockey, Tommy, CK, US Polo. So we are working with all the brands in the market. So my forte is retail basically. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Dhruv. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of a brand called Tasva. It's a part of the Ayurveda group. It's a very new brand compared to all of your brands over here. So we started 1.5 years back. We've raised from 0 to 6 stores in about 15 months' time. So we're also there on Myntra, we're there on Omnicommerce, our own website, etc. And we're into ethnic space. So ethnic wear, men's wedding wear, and celebratory wear. Thanks a lot.
Hi, good evening everyone. I am Harkavar. I head retail for Nicobar. It's a homegrown brand and from the house of Good Earth. So Good Earth, Nicobar, Paro, it comes under the same family. It's a retail brand. It's a lifestyle brand. We got apparels, we got home accessories. So there's something for everybody if you walk into our store. We have 15 stores as of now and counting. We plan to open 24 stores by end of this year. And yeah, that's about myself. Thank you. Let's have a good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Anisha, and I handle the retail operations for Good Earth. As HK said, that yeah, so we all are one family. So yeah, this is 27-year-old brand. Started as a very small dream from our founder AL, where she wanted to help the potters of India, and that's where we have grown from one store in the Kemp's Corner to 10 stores right now where we are, and global presence from our website. In a sustainable luxury, it is a very well-known brand, so very well celebrated. We say our tagline is joy in everyday living, and that's what we all do. While whether we are at work or we are at home or we are selling to people or we are crafting something.
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Avishek. I take care of the retail category for Tata 1MG. So prior to this, Tata 1MG is majorly into online space, but currently we have been, into the retail space from last 18 months, and we are having currently more than 60 stores, majorly present in Delhi NCR, and some part of the East, and followed by some part of Rajasthan. And we are focusing approximately around 200 stores in this fiscal year. And I majorly take care of the entire retail OTC category.
Similar to my colleague, my name is Rahul. I am working at the founder's office with the chief operating officer at Paragon MG. Yes, to already told, we are a 7-year-old company, started with e-pharma and e-diagnostic. For the last 18 months or so, we have forayed into retail spaces there. Our retail offering primarily is e-pharmacy and e-diagnostic as well, with a increased focus on how we can serve our customers through an omni-channel space, leveraging both our online strength and the retail stores. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Manish Chopra. I am taking a break right now. Until recently, I was working with a homegrown Indian brand called Ayurveda. This brand is into Ayurvedic beauty. It's a 20-year-old brand founded by Vivek Sahani, and the brand today has 63 stores and a global presence online, and has also just recently launched the international website based out of UK. This brand is born with the passion of helping people feel better and to be sustainable. And I think that was something that Vivek is very, very particular about, and the brand is very particular about. as far as I'm concerned, well, I'm here to enjoy the afternoon and talk to you guys. Experience of more than 20 years across different brands in retail and fashion and leisure. Looking forward to this discussion today afternoon. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Vikram, and I'm taking care of business development and operations for North. As we have started just expanding in North. Sorry, I forgot to mention the company. It's Paragon Footwear. It's an Indian grown company. So I have the responsibility to basically develop the brand in North with stores, with more count in stores. Go to Ravi.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ravi Kiran and I work with Paragon Footwear as a head of retail. As you all know, Paragon is a very well-known brand in the market, though we have started our operations in 1975. Primarily, the brand was into distribution. So we have about 500 distributors across India, and then we have about 2 lakh plus retailers who are working with Paragon brand. Retail is something which we have newly started, from 2015. As on today, we have about 80 stores, and then we have plans to open about 150, primarily in focus towards franchisee-owned and franchisee-operated stores. Thanks.
So as we start the discussion, the first question I have is for you, Ajay, and you, Manish. You have a significant experience as a retail leader. If you had to give some advice, this is your experiences, to a younger self, or to any other retail leader who is now beginning to take on the retail leadership responsibility, what would that be?
The first question is always difficult to answer.
That's why it goes to the most seasoned
It's a
ones.
bit tricky also because, see, the thing is that retail is evolving, and I believe the retail that we used to do some 5 years back or even 3 years back is something very different from what we are seeing today and probably what we want to see in a couple of years from now. The expectations of the customers, the level of service that they're actually looking at, the type of competition that we are getting in from different sectors, it is online or e-commerce or the different brands who are actually wanting to get into the similar kind of space is something which a retailer has to be very aware of. And in FabIndia, this is something which we have been actually monitoring very closely. And I'm sure that each and every one of you is aware about the concept called experience centers, which we actually brought in the year 1920. We started with the experiment of experience centers in the year 2017. When we did the first one, it was Sunfoods, followed by a couple of them more in the next year, one in Bombay, and the other one, I don't remember, but I think it was in Hyderabad. And looking at the success, gauging the success is when we decided in the year 1920 that we are going to scale it up. And we really scaled it up to a level which was like kind of so while you can say that, okay, it was an experience center which was coming in, it was a bigger store, it was a larger store with a lot of variety, with a lot of product in it, but at the very same time to run that store differently also was a challenge. And we introduced a lot of services. We said that we have to move from a retail brand to an experiential retail kind of brand where we actually focus on services. And we brought in a lot of services over there in the form of alteration studios, quick alteration, which a customer would want to do. Tugbug, which is a kids play zone, which is again there in the experience centers. Again, things have actually taken a backseat slightly because of COVID, but at the time, at this point of time, the intent is that how soon and how fast can they actually bounce back and get back all of these things working again. Cafe, which of course, like after shopping, you want to. So the concept all started like a neighborhood store, and as a brand, we keep an eye on all these things. And as we speak, we are actually working on Experience Center 2.0, wherein we say that okay, these are the services which we have given. How can we actually better it? What else can we actually give to the customer? So this is again an experiment which is going on, which is work in progress. And my advice would be to the brands is that we should always be looking at creating something very different, thinking out of the box, which is a very, very common phrase, but then yes, that's what you are supposed to do. And when you have to compete with online where everything is available on a click of a button and time doesn't matter and you have that timeline of 10:30 to 8:30, yes, you will have to think out of the box to make the customer come back again and again to your store and shop?
So yeah, that's a very broad question. Sorry. From well, I would agree to Ajay to a large extent, to a very large extent that it's evolving and it's changing pace fast. I also believe the more it is evolving, the more we need to stay the same. Which means what? What is at the core of retail? It's the consumer, right? It's the experience for the consumer. What we miss out in a lot of the things that we do, and I've seen a lot of the brands do, and I'll give examples, right, as you said, is really stop worrying about what we do is we miss out on where we are actually helping the consumer and what are we doing right for the consumer. A lot of the times we start focusing so much internally in trying to innovate and trying to do the next thing that we miss out on that. And I'll give very simple examples. Sometimes they are so stupid that I sometimes wonder why brands can't see that or why retailers can't see that. Now, this is an example of a brand, I'm not going to name it, in ambient small Gurgaon. I walk into shop, I buy the stuff, I walk out. There's a security guard who's asking me to show them the receipt. In this age and era, in a place like that, in a premium brand, when you ask me to show the receipt, I find it weird, right? You don't trust your consumer. What are you trying to show? This is small thing, very small thing. In today's time, you know that there are ways of controlling this. Why do you need to worry about something like this? Right? Same way, go back to basics. Take the example of saying, why did consumers go to stores? Why would they continue to go to stores, especially in online? If you remember, shopping started as a way of going out and experiencing something different. That's why the big stores, if you remember, the era of retail started with the large stores. The large stores were all about the experience that the consumer gets. In today's world, when we come back with e-commerce, with everything there, that experience is at the core fundamental reason why they would come back to the store and why they would not shop online. So it's that ability to help the consumer fulfill their wishes and aspirations as we help them. And examples. Taking an example, I'll take example from a brand like Tasva. I walk into the store at SouthX. I ask them for specific help choosing something for my son. The ability to ask the right questions, the ability to ask, okay, what type of color does he want to wear? Does he want to wear something very intricate or something simple? Fact of interacting, engaging the consumer, and then providing the solution is very important. It's very important for us, like in Ayurveda. We have started doctors sitting, Ayurveda doctors, in most of our stores with specific timings and free consultations for the consumer. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's not just about selling the product. It's about helping the consumer, and our consultations are not limited to just the beauty. Because it's Ayurveda, the consultation is about everything. So you want the consumer to come in, spend the time there, have that experience, and go back thinking that tomorrow if I have any issue, this is the place where I come to for my solution. Right? So you become the place where you go to for solution. And that's the reason why the consumer will come back to you. Yep. Otherwise, you will just be fighting the same game of product, pricing, promotion. The game changer is, and that's why I said, the more you change, the more it will remain the same and it will become even more important. The fundamental remains the consumer.
In fact, this reminds me of a couple of interviews I had the privilege of listening in person of Tommy Hilfiger. And in both the instances, almost 3 years apart, I heard him saying that we are in the business of retailtainment. And that's one of the reasons, according to him, that Tommy Hilfiger as a brand has been able to stay relevant generation after generation. That you're continuously looking for what the current generation is looking for in store. And you're looking at it as retailtainment and not just the transaction of selling. And looking for opportunities that how do I engage him? Why is he walking into the store? And not just buying online. This could be anywhere. But just to welcome Pankaj from Bata. Right?
Sorry, apologies for the late.
Yeah, so Pankaj is retail head at Bata. I'm not going to do the introduction myself. But we'll come back to you, Pankaj, in a bit. Meanwhile, I have a couple of questions for you, Dhruv, and you, HK.
As we call it.
You are building new brands. which is very different challenge than growing an existing brand. The early years of a brand are very different from a later stage in the journey. So, any learnings that you have had, any advice that you would give to any new person, any retail leader wanting to get into this journey of building brands from scratch?
I'll take it first.
Please.
Yeah, so I think the first question to be answered is why are you in that space? Why are you even building brand in that space? So we'll take our own example. So there are 10 million marriages which happen in India every year, and almost 56% of the people are in the marriage age. So huge the audience which you're catering to is massive. Then you see which are the brands in that space. For example, in an ethnic wear space, in a marriage ethnic wear space, there's only one national brand, which is probably 10% of the whole kitty, which is about 1800 crores. The whole kitty is about 20 or 1000 crores. Then you see that who are you competing? You're competing against a national brand, you're competing against local players. So there's a big space between the price point at which they're operating in and the your brands. So suddenly you have a big space, you have a large audience, and then you have to know when and how fast to expand. For example, in a brand like ours, so we know that the Reliance of the world, Tatas of the world, they're all going to be coming into this opportunity. Therefore, when you have the concept right, you already know how much business is happening from which cities. You know the target audience which are there. Then you pick and choose your competition brands. You analyze what kind of throughputs are they doing, what kind of rental viabilities are coming, what are the commercials in those spaces, and then you have a plan of action and you go after it with as much aggression as possible, as much as your funding allows you. Obviously, if you're a startup, we are lucky to be a startup of a big brand. Therefore, we have those kind of fundings. But for a smaller brand, I would have probably suggested go on the online space first. Probably the category may not have allowed it. Build online space, go into shop in shops, get the omni-channel experience right, and then build capex oriented stores. But when you are a startup which has the kind of funding, you will probably open larger than life stores. You will have the distribution effect coming in. You already know what kind of business is happening over there. You build other communities around that brand. You build referral programs, etc. So you in a way of speaking, you know the opportunity at which is there, and then you start building on it. And you have to be very clear how fast you want to expand. Probably the brand which Harkanwar manages is in a different space right now. We are in a different space now, right now. We know next couple of years this is going to skyrocket. We're not going to wait for that to happen. We already want to be there. Make sure when this happens, the presence is there. So again, to each his own.
Hi, thank you so much. I think Dhruv has summed it up very nicely. To add on to it, yes, you need to understand what is your target audience when you're launching a new brand or a new product. For us at Nicobar, I think sustainability was one of those factors when we were launching the brand. And not only the product that we sell in the stores or on the online sites reflects the same. It's the work culture that we have in our office that we call it Tulsi. Reflects on the same work ethics and the brand, the sustainability and close to the nature. So we reflect on that. I think for anybody who is venturing new into the market, I would say that stick to the basics. Retail is not a rocket science that we have to learn something. Going back to the basic, understanding your people, building a strong team is very, very important. And then having a strong product. If you have these two things, two basics in place, then pricing and marketing and all those things can follow. So I stick to these two basics, and we've been able to scale. We opened 4 stores last year, and we plan to open 10 new stores, and the brand is doing beautifully well. I think that's from my side.
Did you have to, either of you, did you have to unlearn something as you went into a startup-ish environment?
So we definitely made some corrections to pricing within the first year itself. So the joy of being an Indian brand, being so much closer to the market, having your own sourcing team, your own designing team, you can take much faster actions compared to any global MNC. I mean, I know so many people here. I've worked with Manish and other people here, where so many things are controlled and which are out of your hands. But here you can take much faster actions. You have the ability to act on the consumer's feedback. For example, we are able to capture 95% of the consumers and their NPS scores. We are even able to capture 50% of their commentary around the products, the styles, designs, sizes, etc. So therefore, the ability to take action on it. For example, we realized that we have outpriced the market in certain categories way too much. So we are taking corrections on that. And I think the ability to accept that mistake and take fast corrections will only help you rather than being inflexible and going on that path, realizing that the mistake is being done. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would, that's from one plus from my side. Being agile is very, very important. So when I say agile, you plan for something, you made a plan, then you start to executing it. But in the middle of the way, you realize that things are not working. So when you're working for these homegrown brands where you have everything, around you, it becomes flexible for you to take those required corrective actions immediately and work on them. So I think that was a very big learning for me when I joined Nicobar.
Many people with large brands crave for that kind of freedom and opportunity.
They do, yes.
Sure. I'll just take a minute to go back to Pankaj. So Bata is a story that we have seen as a transformation story for the last few years, and at a brand at that scale, it couldn't have been easy. So I think yesterday's session also we had someone share a Bata transformation story from a customer perspective. But any learnings that you have had, any experiences that you would like to share, any mistakes that you've made that you learned from along the way that could be relevant for any of the other brands looking at a kind of a transformation?
I think fundamentally good to hear customers appreciating the change. I think it's been a very complex journey, and as you said, and it becomes all the more complex when you have 2,000 point of sale in the country and you're trying to think of change in the industry. So I think we've gone through multiple changes, and I think we did take one thing at a time. So we started with product, then we moved to product. We got the product right first, and I think with product we started seeing we wanted to move up in terms of what we want to offer, how value-added product we want to give, we want to bring in better brands into the store, and hence then we went on to correcting on the portfolio, and we did have to take tough and calls on what kind of store we don't want to operate in the country and what kind of store we want to operate in the country, and we had to go through the journey. So we would have changed or refurbed or refreshed in last 3 years 50% of the portfolio. So because we knew that this space is becoming more and more competitive, we had to bring our age of the portfolio down. And bringing an age of the portfolio of our scale needs almost talking about one refresh a day. We are almost doing a store per day, kind of either renovating or getting a new store. And not only that, we had to be level up in terms of the base at which we grow. While Bharat is now being talked about as the growth trajectory for next year, not India, we started working on this 3 years back. And hence we opened in last 3 years some 400 plus stores in the term today called Bharat. And that's where we're trying to build on. So we got the purpose of the brand refigured in the mind of the customer. We got the portfolio to change. And not only that, I think with some legacy that we carry of the brand, the way it is perceived and the process that we had to go through dramatic change in terms of digital adoption. So today, if I go to my store, my employee in the store will have at least 7 to 8 applications where he takes care of the whole digital journey. So I know when was the last time he shopped. So that's the conversation it becomes when you come to the cash counter. I know whether when you ask pick up a product, whether do I have it in my store or not. And all of this had to go through the digital journey. Today I do 7% of my turnover being home delivered for the customer who was using it, who were earlier coming to my store and I was not having size. And all of these had journeys. We did, and there were multiple business models which came out of it. For example, large format store was never a concept which as a brand we believed in, and it's only we have got 400, 500 point of sale in the last 2 years. So we had to go through that journey, and I think we moved from 1600 point of sale to 2100 point of sale in the last rapid 2 years, because we knew that this space is becoming more competitive, and the line or the between offline and online are becoming blurred and becoming more thinner. So and as somebody talked about retail entertainment or experience becoming the only difference, because product is same. So there's same supplier making for most brands today. The pricing is a magnitude of how much risk you can take and what margins you can afford in the business. So very much again a point of parity at some point in time. The experience in this store was the only differentiator we could bring in, and with the amount of people who come into our stores every year to buy 5 crore plus shoes that we sell, it had to be managed in detail, and it's always called retail is all about detail. So we had to go to every single touch point for the customers to be re-looked at on how we would want the customer journey to be. And I think the journey is still not completed. We are in that journey to bring in a retail 2.0, and we've done some 40-50% of what we wanted to achieve. So it's a complex for a brand that scale, and especially when you have multiple channels, multiple brands under you, and obviously led by a large part of it being globally led. So I think biggest change which also came in was apart from digital adoption was thing that we just talked about on being almost running business on a daily basis. So retail is a daily business. So we were so agile on looking at Thursday, we were able to make changes and corrections on Friday. And that's the kind of pace and the changes we had to bring in the system to be able to adapt everybody working on that. So I agree, and I think we get some people coming back and saying, this is how I used to work earlier in the same organization, and in the system internally it has gone through that change.
I think you brought in this point of digital and the use of tech for sales. And omnichannel, I think, that we are all familiar with, and almost every brand is doing some initiatives in. So I'd like to just, hear from any of you who may want to share. Maybe we'll start with you, Ajay. Any initiative, any example of any unique thing that you have done from an omnichannel perspective? Because that whole space is relatively new to almost everyone around. But any unique thing that would be the number one thing that comes to your mind that you've done as a brand, which has helped on that journey in any form?
So endless aisle is what I would say, and this is something which is available in the stores, and this has been with us for the last 5 years now, and obviously it played a very significant role during the COVID era, because customers were actually not willing to come to the stores. There were a lot of restrictions, and then we did try a lot of things, right from WhatsApp selling to only selling, or making the staff go to their residences and actually asking them to pick up things. Yes, it has been an interesting thing. Like in the case of Bata, he said around 7% of the sale coming in. I think in good times we also touched approximately 2 to 2.5% of the sale coming in, with some stores actually leading the initiative and crossing up to 5% also, because it is all about missing the right size for a product which we actually like on the floor. But one very interesting thing that we did and we introduced was the bespoke, and we did the bespoke on the endless aisle, and it was very successful. I think since we are talking about examples, and this can be a few for Dhruv, the bespoke thing that we did was, and which we still do, is that we offer the customers a range of fabrics. We offer them different stylings that a customer can actually design. So basically, you can design your own kurta or a pathani. You can have rolled up sleeves. You can have collars in a particular way, or you can have sleeves in a particular way, and we don't charge anything extra for that. And it goes with a beautiful gift box when it is actually delivered to the customer. So we talk about a 15-day period in which we do that, but then yes, again, it became very successful because there was a situation. We are not a go-to brand for a wedding, but then yes, we are a brand for for everyone in the family to for a haldi ceremony or for a other ceremonies. So I mean, like we offer kurtas and we offer other things. So we had situations where in a family coming in my store in Chennai and ordering 43 kurtas in one go for the same color and in the same style. Right. So this is something which is very interesting, which actually worked out. and it worked out well, in fact. And it's only one example that I'm giving about Chennai. There were many such examples which actually happened. But then again, COVID came in and there were restrictions about 25 people, not more than 25 people going in for wedding and all those things. Now things opening up, I think we are pushing this thing back again, adding more fabrics, giving more options. And yeah, this is something which is really worked out well.
Thank you for that. But anyone else who would want to share with you?
I'll share one very interesting thing since we all talk about Omni and all. We talk about Twitter, Facebook, Insta and all as basic hygiene. So during COVID, what we did, like at Good Earth, we don't have Omni. We are still working towards it. Yeah, 27-year-old brand, but yeah. So what we started was we had our Instagram page, and it was all the queries which were coming, they were being directed to the content team because content team is the best. They have the best of the language, the finesse and everything. We realized that, okay, there's not much traction and people are reaching out to the brands. So what do? You know what we did? We took out one of our best retail persons from the store who had the experience, and she was really, really great at customer service. And we said, okay, fine, let's develop our social commerce vertical. So a journey started during the COVID and we had our learnings. We said, okay, fine, rather than just someone saying PP and we are replying, okay, this is the thing, that's not the way. So strategically, we actually took that initiative and we built it on. It started with a customer engagement, delivering to the customer, okay, people who are maybe in the Dubai or in US and all, and inquiring about the products and all, understanding the requirements, not from the content point of view, and replying it in a way that the engagement builds. And over the 3 years, we have seen it has started from the customer service as the main objective. Slowly, steadily, we have a bandwagon of loyalists over there who are tagging us, who are collaborating with us, and we can see that vertical growing. So that is one of the things, like just treating it as a hygiene, okay, having some person, okay, you reply to it, there are 800 queries, and we all feel very delighted. What do we do out of it? So out of 800, maybe there are 100 very, very relevant leads that we can, work on. So that was one thing that I wanted to share with the group.
Anyone else?
In terms of technology, I mean, we moved away from cash counters in our stores. So you'll have at least 30% of our stores. And because wedding wear, it is 3 hours average time a customer spends in the store, we've actually moved away from cash counters. Or we have one cash counter on one floor, and then we have mobile POS across different floors. So I think technology only helps because you can't have a person shortlisting a product for 3 hours and then waiting at the cash counter for 10 minutes. You can't do that. So, and I think the second piece, which pretty much everyone would have done by now, is the entire inventory is live on omni channels. So ship from store is, I think, one thing which should be a given in this day and age. But I think taking returns from any channel, that's something I think brands can really help the consumers, because even if I bought online, I can go to any store, return it, or the other way around. I think that's something which, from a consumer lens, which we keep getting from our consumer feedbacks, is what we work on. I think it helps a lot for them to keep coming back.
No, so I wanted to take this example of Ayurveda, because you see, when we talk about omni-channel, a lot of the people think about, whether you talk about MSL or whether you talk about it's offline to online, right? The journeys. But it's very interesting, some of the things that happen at Ayurveda to drive the reverse journey as well, online to offline, right? And how do you complete the consumer experience? Because when you talk about omni, the way I look at omni is really how do you complete a consumer experience through the different channels and provide a consistency of experience to the consumer, whether it's on social media, whether it's on online or in the store. Just some of the examples of some of the things executed there, right? You have a consumer who starts the journey online, right? Puts a product in the shopping cart and then doesn't finish the purchase. What do? Most of the people would send an email to the customer. At Ayurveda, we have a process where we call the customer back, right? And we talk to the customer. What happened? Why did they not complete the journey? And what we've seen is that about 15 to 18% of those consumers actually end up completing the purchase. Some online, some of them even say we're not so sure. So we have guided the consumer to the closest store and they've gone to the store and completed the purchase, right? Second piece that happens is, I spoke about the doctors, the consultations, right? So there are the offline consultations, we also do online consultations. So customers can call, fix up the time on the website, can fix up the time and have an online consultation with an Ayurvedic expert, and actually have the opportunity to purchase the product based on the recommendations and based on their concerns right then and there, or even they get the list shared by the expert, and then they can go to the store and purchase. The last bit that we started, which we had also kicked off in Adidas and then in other brands, is Google tagging. So when you geo-tag and geo-fence the stores, how do you use SEO to geo-target consumers and drive them to the store? And that's something that helps the consumer complete the journey. So what you're giving the consumer is an opportunity. So I search, for example, and just taking an example of Tasva, right, or anything else, wedding kurta, or just a kurta, right, and I have the closest FabIndia store, right. So if you buy the right words, I get the FabIndia store. I get the opportunity to look at the product. I get the opportunity of either going to the closest store and getting. So you have the opportunity of adding the maps. You have the opportunity of adding a chat option. You have an opportunity of getting a call option there.
Consumer reviews also.
Consumer reviews, and the opportunity also to guide the consumer to the website and let them buy from the website if that's what they want to do, right? But that kind of that's where you really complete a consumer experience, and that. But what is very important, all of this, to be able to achieve this, and it doesn't. It's where the mistakes happen. Is the digital catalog at the back, where the consistency of the catalog across channels is the same, so that the consumer gets the same experience of the same product across the channels. And Dhruv and I have gone through this in Adidas, and we've learned it, and we had to unlearn this and relearn it, because this was something which was really interesting, because on different channels, you would have the same product being described differently. So when a customer would search for that product, it would come up in one channel as one thing, but not in the other place. Right? So these are all experiences that help. But I think when you think about omni-channel, the most important element that I would say is that you should really think about how do you provide consistency of experience to the consumer across the different touch points that you have. That's the most important element to think about. It's not just about saying, oh, I'll be able to do extra business. Again, it goes back to helping the consumer buy better and fulfill their aspirations. That's the most important element that you should look at.
So I think on technology, 2-3 things we've done this year. Call out. So for example, it's very complex to how to ensure a brand story comes alive in the store in similar shape and form as the product guys conceived it to be. So one thing started off is called AI. We brought in AI into this. We have identified a reference. How do I want this product to be displayed? And basis that, I get a picture. In 24 hours that we launch the product, I get to know how many stores have it in the same shape and form as I had conceived it to. So that's, I think, one interesting piece to be looked at. We've also got the way we go on expansion is also now fairly scientific. Instead of the earlier ways of being intuitive, we've got MapMyIndia, Google, a lot of demographic data coming in to tell me where do I want to go, and it's fairly now scientific process on which cities I should be going, which within the micro markets, which are the places where I don't have a competition, which 2-kilometer radius, which road, and we also have in places where I know the city and I know the 100 meters in which I want to go. So it's so sharp with the data being used. And I think these are just some of the examples on the way we've been trying to use and adopt technology. And lastly, we started using AI in terms of the way we train people as well. So I think it's the usage of AI and the data analytics is becoming more and more as we moving into the seamless journey in our stores. So there are 2-3 examples we've just done in the last 6-8 months.
Any other examples from an omni perspective, or can we move on from the subject? Okay, sure. So the next area I'd like to bring up is we are in a time and age where there are new brands coming up left, right, and center, and the fight for the same talent is increasing. And I hear a lot of people sharing challenges around retention, new employees who are getting additional offers at double the salary, or employees moving for small costs. Any initiatives that any of you have taken from a retention perspective that, especially at a store level, that are not usual, that are innovative, that you think, others may not be aware of? And while you think of that, just at the back of your mind, just also keep in mind any questions you may have for anyone else on the table today. Something you want to learn from them, or something you have a question on and you want to open it up to this group, that can someone help me on any examples. So that also just keep on your back of your mind. But meanwhile, any retention related initiatives that any of you have done which have needed results?
I mean, yeah, I can. So I think, yes, you're very right on the retention, the kind of competition that we have in the market. We need to take care of the people that we have in the stores. It is as important to take care of the people inside the store as much as the customers. So we have to do something different to ensure that the customers are coming back to the store, be it with the customer experience. So something in Nicobar that we did, it's been there with rest of the brands from a very long time, but then incentives were not there for the retail stores. Attrition was really high when I joined. It's been a year now. So along with taking care of the basic necessities of the store team, we introduced incentives, and that has really helped not only to motivate the team, but to control the attrition also to a fairly large extent. So I mean, this has been there in all the brand, but it was not there in Nicobar because the brand ethics or the aesthetics were more focused on the customer service. But then, when you realize what's happening in the market and you see that your own attrition is on a higher side, there are some steps that you need to take to ensure that you're there, neck to neck with the market to control those things. That is something that has happened with us at Nicobar, and so help us. I'm not too sure if that can help the other brand because they're already there. But then,
So basically, we all know, as you're talking about, having the right people at the store, and retention is very much important. So in the market, whatever the cream we say, the people who are there is been always taken by the premium brands because they are the one who are the good paymasters. And value brands like us will get whatever is left over because obviously we're not that great and say, paying them. Having them staying long with the brand becomes very difficult. That can only come in when you have a very well-defined career progression plan, which is in place. So now at Paragon, we are doing the same thing. When there is somebody who has joined, we have a very defined plan saying that if somebody is being joined, what is that we are going to do in the initial 3 months with them, and then we tell them, the staff basically saying that how do they progress in the next coming months. So 1 to 3 is something we have a plan, and then 6 to 9 months, and then over the year we tend to promote them for a different role. For example, somebody joined at a sales staff level, he would be promoted as a senior sales staff. So these sort of initiatives we have taken, and then we have seen results not only in terms of retention, but also we have seen that it is impacting on the business as well. So we have seen now there is a purpose why a particular person has to perform in the store. It's not just about incentive being there, but also he is looking at that within 8 months I should become this. Within 1 year I should be able to post that. And also when we are giving that difference between the new staff and then somebody who has already spent a year in the company as a sales staff, they tend to post the new people who have joined in the organization. So they feel that they are involved in the process. Okay, so they stay, very close with the brand and also stay engaged. So that is something we have done at Paragon, which is really helping out.
Yeah. I totally agree with him. My name is Monica, and we have a staff who are working with us from the last 10 years or so, 10 years, 15 years. They are still working with us. And what we used to do, like internally, promote the staff, like what we say, and even we have promoted a master to ESM also, because we find the potential on him, and that's the thing. Thank you.
Hi. Being a beauty brand, I think we have the highest attrition. Reason is so we have the highest attrition because of the number of brands that just come up. Like you have Sugar, you have Nykaa, you have Color Essence. I think I can name at least 40 new brands just come up in the last 2 years. So to hold the attrition, what we have done, we've divided into 2 phases. One is the career growth plan, and the other one which is incentive. And I'm happy, or I'll be proud to say that we have one of the best incentive programs in the industry, where we say that you have achieved your store target, and if you have done a certain amount, which is 1.25 lakh, it is flat 5,000 rupees. You have done 2.5 lakh rupees, you'll get 10,000 rupees per person, not the store. So we have at least one of the best incentive plans. Second thing, what we have done, we have made a career plan for everyone in the store. So anybody who joins and completes 6 months, then we put him in under training under the store manager and since we are growing with a large pace, so we are happy to will place them as a store manager, assistant store manager training. We have seen people from a BA to grow as a area manager right now in our company. Although the attrition is high, but we have people who are above 10 years in the store. So I think that is the way we have managed.
So I'm from the franchisee side. I'm not from the brand end. So we face a lot of challenges in terms of retention, if I talk about, because every day is a new day and a new challenge. Every brand has a different set of expectations from the core team going down to the stock boys. So we have footwear, we have apparels, we have brand like who has ATV of 400, 500, brand having ATV of 2,000, 3,000 rupees. So the most important part is understanding the fitment of right person at right place. So I have an opportunity to switch people into different roles in different brands. So if someone has an interest in footwear and he's working at a apparel brand, obviously he gets demotivated. So retention comes from understanding your team, what passion they hold, what actually they want from their work. Because every day we at stores spending almost 10 to 12 hours. We say 8 hours, 9 hours, 7 hours. That doesn't actually happen. So it starts from 7, 8 hours, goes up to 10 hours, 12 hours, and there are people who are actually working 16 hours. So we were discussing about Omni, other channels and outputs coming on, and there comes a time after a year or 2 years, depending upon how he gets appraised and what data is available with the management according to their achievements, whatever they have done. So retention, I would say, is something which is the hardest thing to do as on date in terms of if I say in retail, because there are a lot of opportunities available. If I say I'm sitting in a market like SouthX or in a market like Slick City Walk, there are 200 brands working near me, and everyone, if they know that this guy is the best, everyone will offer anything to like get this person on board.
That's something everyone's
Exactly. So this is the most difficult thing which we do as on date with every employee we have. So it is very important to have a day-to-day interaction. Like me, I have a team of almost 150 people handling 38 stores and a very different verticals altogether. So some have different expectations. Food industry will have different. Your footwear industry will have different apparels. Maybe you see ethnics are there. Then you have your fashion brands. Discounts are there. So what best practice we do is weekly reviews within the teams. So whenever my area managers, my business managers are on the floor, they discuss everything from the stock boy to the manager to understand their expectations and where we are on that expectations. So retention, I would say the best practice which we have followed is the weekly reviews within the team. So like generally in my past career experiences, I've seen people only reviewing you once a year, and that is only on appraisals. Before that, you might have done something very nice in the month of July, August, September. It doesn't really matter. What matters is your January, February, and March. So retention does not start from those 3 months. It starts from your entire judgment will only be there when you judge a person for the entire year when you are. And that is where it comes. I want 15%, 20%, 25%. But how do we judge it? We only judge, oh, 15%, January was good. February, excellent. March, he retained everything. So we give 20, 25, whatever percentage we decide on board at that time. So maintaining the correct data, understanding your team, your teammates, someone might be doing very good in one particular brand, but when he goes to other brand, he is not able to do good there. So now there he tries to switch to another franchisee, maybe brand. So there are a lot of things in the market called I want to work with brand. So me being a franchisee, I really think about it like what is the differentiator between a brand and a franchisee? We offer everything the same. Salaries we are paying best in the market. My store managers I pay approximately lakh to 1.25, which some of the brands might not be paying. And there are store managers with jockey who pay 25-30,000 rupees. So as per their caliber and their capabilities, the right fitment is very important in today's scenario. Thank you.
So I think what you said is beautiful. It's the fitment, right fitment, the continuous appreciation. I think the continuous, the fact of instant appreciation and recording that is very important, right? I'll take that to the next level. What you're saying when you're talking continuously to somebody, it's also one of the things that I've noticed through my experience over the years is that where your attrition rates go high is where there is a disconnect between the back office and the retail team, and that happens very easily. It doesn't look like it, but it happens very easily in retail, right? It's how do you integrate them with things like doing continuous review, with things like having, like what we used to do in Adidas, and is having town halls on a very strong periodic basis with the whole team, and that was not just the Adidas own team, even the franchisee team, right? So for us, integrating them into the culture of Adidas and for them to understand Adidas was as important, and recognizing each and every person who's delivered on the ground in that larger forum was critical. Right? Because that is where they realize that we know who they are. That's something that's very important. It doesn't sound like a big thing, but it's very important for them, right? I walk into the store, I know the name of the person, I talk to them about them as people, as a person, not as another employee who's on the floor. That makes a huge difference. So that putting that culture all the way through is very important. So the right fitment, the culture, instant appreciation, salaries and incentives are a given. Career paths are a given today. They expect that from you. But what they stay back for are these things. It's always the softer aspects that they stay back for.
That just reminds me of a discussion with the founder who was at one point sharing a frustration that, हम दुकान चलाते थे, I used to know the name of every employee. And nowadays, my regional managers, as we expanded, so this is like the gentleman has grown from 1 to 800 stores, the business. Individually.
And it's very difficult.
And at 300 odd stores, we started losing track of the names of all employees. But I've heard
but that culture,
and he used to actually not just remember names of employees, but also names of customers.
Yeah. But you see, that culture will still get driven if he does that still with a few employees on the ground in front of his team. Right. So even if you do it with a few employees, your team will take that in, right? And your team will start doing that. So if you, as retail head does that, the regional manager will do that. The regional manager does that. The area manager will do that. So that's very important to bring that down. It has to flow through, and sometimes we miss that. We miss that because we think they're just, they're on the ground. Yes, they are, but they are your team. And I used to tell Dhruv also that we are all cost centers. They are the profit center. We all are cost centers at the end of the day. They are the guys who are the profit centers. Let's be very clear. They are the earners. We spend the money, and if we don't treat them like that, then we don't expect them to stay there.
Yeah, that's very true. Building a compassionate team, I feel, is very, very important. Paying 1 lakh, of course, 1.25, there's no end to it, when we are actually looking at those kind of numbers. At Gurgaon, again, another side of the spectrum, we still have our, first employee of Gurgaon, which came on board. She is still very much there. If you go to our Clovia store, you will see one old lady sitting on the chair, very, very active, telling people, welcoming you if you walk into that store. somehow when she actually reached that retirement stage, we said, we can't let you go off like that. And she said, I don't want to, because otherwise what will I do? And I still speak with her on weekly basis. And I say, okay, you are unwell. Why don't you stay at home? Good Earth is there. It's, that's the kind of unsaid thing. She said, no, Anisha, if I'll actually stay at home, I'll feel more sick. And also I'm happy if I'm there, I see the people and I give you the feedbacks and those kind of things. So building compassionate teams is very, very much something that, I think in the time of machines and all that, what we speak about, we kind of lose track of things. HR just looks at punch in, punch outs, and okay, some anomalies which happens. Okay, with all due respect to HR. Yes,
there
yeah.
is no HR here. You can go on.
Yeah, it's extreme, yeah.
Someone may be watching us.
Yeah. So I'm saying all those things are there, numbers are there. Again, at Good Earth, when we sit, we start with I feel culture and not I think. I think here, I feel here. So I start with I feel this, and then we start building our case. Okay, then the thinking part start coming in. So that's another thing that we inculcate, we encourage in our teams. We have our team members. We have a very less attrition rate over at Good Earth. People stick to us, and then we started thinking, beyond a point, they stop growing, because as a brand, we are not opening 100 stores. And it becomes my responsibility also to grow people. How do we grow? So there comes the horizontal growth, to understand the strength. What is Anisha's strength? What is Sarika's strength? And to have those kind of dialogues with people and start expanding their responsibilities. So those were a couple of things that we did over and apart from instant recognitions. Just a mail or a message in the group also means a lot, which we feel, okay, shall I do it? Shall I not do it? But those small gestures, really, handwritten notes, I still have the I value you things, which I actually do it for the team. So yeah. Anyone else?
I think I'll move on to the next area. A quick check. Now in different markets, we hear a different version of how much time a store team member or a store manager, for that matter, invests on operational tasks versus with customers. And it goes as large as 90% in the Western world. That 90% of the time is on operational tasks because they're not expected to sell. The store is supposed to sell on its own. The product is supposed to sell on its own. People don't sell. But a quick check around the table right now. How much time would your store team spend on operational tasks on an average day? Just a number. And only numbers of ours, just give me a number. A very quick round.
So I would say if it is a food industry, he would, from 10-hour shift, he would spend almost 7 hours on the floor. There is 3 hours on the reporting and other stuff. If it comes to footwear, reporting is actually not managed by the store manager. It is managed by the assistant manager. So he's always on the floor assisting customers and the team member. When it comes,
hours in general on operational tasks?
I would say 9 hours out of 10 hours.
Is operational or customers?
Operational. Store manager is always on the floor.
No, what he means by operational is on the floor.
Is operational
on the floor.
Not the reporting in the back end.
Yes.
9 out of?
9 out of 10 hours.
Only 1 hour.
1 hour he will be doing briefing and other tasks which happen as well. When it comes to apparel, the reporting is more so. I would rate like 7 hours on the floor and rest on the
3 hours.
3 hours back end.
Let's just have a quick round of numbers.
It's the same 30-70, 30% operation, 30% reporting and 70% operation.
30%. Okay, both would look 30%.
Couple of hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I would also say 30%. I mean, across the brands that we've looked at, I think in Adidas we were trying to get it down. It went up to about 40-45% at one point of time, but we wanted to get it down 30%. That's why using technology was a very important factor, right? In Kama, it's about 30%. In other brands that I've worked across markets, it doesn't go beyond 40%. If you go beyond 40%, then you're somewhere not doing the right thing. The managers should be, and especially the managers' back-end tasks, which is very critical, should happen at the non-peak hours. At the peak hours, the manager should be on the floor actually selling as well. And one of the things that we started in Adidas, by the way, which was really great, and this is just an example for you guys to take on if you want to, because I started it in Raymond, I started it in Kama, and wherever I've gone, is everybody from the back office to spend at least 1 day in store selling once a month, whatever happens.
That helps.
Everybody from the back office, including finance, including legal, because that's where you really understand who you're doing the work for, sitting in the back office.
In fact, I was in Bombay one day and I called the Calculating team, can we meet up? And they said, आज करवा चौथ है, पूरा head office stores में बेच रहा है.
Right. That happens. For our annual sale, we have our back office in front here.
Yeah.
So I think 30% is a number.
Yeah,
we can
it's
do.
broadly the right.
Now my question for Ajay and to Pankaj. As you look at international market expansion, I'm sure this will change. How you approach the people to, per square foot ratio will change. And I'm sure a lot else also changes. So Ajay, you've taken brands, the Indian brand out of India. Because you're managing an international brand in India, but you also manage Europe and other markets. So this is your experience. What can a person in a position similar to yours, beginning an international expansion journey? We are seeing a lot of Indian brands now wanting to grow beyond India. What should they watch out for as they look at some of these new markets? Some lessons, some experiences, some anecdotes.
Well, you can be a very well-known brand in India, but you really struggle to get a presence in a good mall over there. We have been, again, there are different aspects to look at it, and we have always been following and experimenting with actually making ourselves present in places where we have a good Indian diaspora. So that's what you can actually bank on. So Singapore's, Malaysia's, Dubai's have actually really worked out well. In fact, Malaysia has been one of an outperformer, I would say. So has been Singapore and Dubai. But then yes, for somebody to explore outside, it's a big challenge. Because majority of these places, the presence has to be in the malls. And even if you look at FabIndia in India, we are a high street kind of brand because 65 to 67% of our stores are on high streets. We have presence in malls in cities where high streets are less, but then yes, we have tried this in Dubai also. We tried this successfully in Malaysia also. Although we have 4 stores, one of them is in high streets, and the balance, 2 of them are on high streets, 2 of them are in the malls. But then yes, getting a good real estate, having a very good understanding and knowledge about the market is very, very important. And what we have been actually doing is that the 13 stores that we have, that only 2 which are run by the company, we are looking at good franchise partners who are actually wanting to invest in us, who have a fairly good knowledge about the local geographies. And while you keep on getting a lot of queries about people who are passionate about the brand and want to do 1 store or 2 stores in the country, we are actually trying to explore and look at partners who would be interested to go long run and would be working on a business plan which would be for a period of 3 to 5 years, giving a very clear growth in terms of how the business is supposed to grow, how the ROI is supposed to come, and the number of stores that we should be actually having over the next 3 to 5 years.
I think Ajay talked about both pieces. For us, I think it's slightly more easier because whichever country I go, I hear the brand is being recognized as the brand from that country. So I go to Pakistan, I hear from Pakistan, people believe it's Pakistan. We hear it in Bangladesh, we hear it in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Czech, Latin America, whichever country we go, we hear that the brand belongs from that country. So hence it becomes slightly easier for us. But as we are expanding into Middle East, Vietnam, and more newer countries, I think 2 pieces broadly. While the retail business comes and more profitable business comes from more high streets than malls, but to build the positioning of the brand, to go to malls first to establish and to become visible in the right competitive space, and then move to high streets. So I think the other piece to be taken care of is, and I think it's very different in South Africa versus Czech or Italy, I see. As you said also, is the number of expectation of the customer. The expectation of the customer in Indian market is very different what a customer in Singapore expects, or in South Africa, and hence nuances put into it. So, for example, for similar turnover, similar size of store in Italy, I will have probably only 3 people, while I might have 6 people or 7 people in India or Indian subcontinent. because the expectations are very different. The in Indian subcontinent, the customer expects to be served. While when you go to Western market, they want a free space. They want to explore on their own, and in most cases you will see a lot of brands and successful brands having display all stocks also there, right, just below the product as well. So it's pay less in South Africa or other markets. So the expectation of the customer and how customer shops is different, and that is, I think, which is why a lot of brands, when they go to new markets, they try and find a credible partner, which is through franchise, because he is able to pick up those nuances in a better manner and being able to own it better. While it is possible for any brand, but it takes slightly longer journey. The gestation period is slightly more longer to be able to afford it, and hence I think there are differential impact on the unit economics which come.
I'd like to now open it up for anyone who may have questions for the group. Anything that you may want to ask others on the table today, and this is a problem I'm dealing with. Has anyone else? No one has any problems?
I think the one problem I think which everybody was talking about, I think is difficult one to crack is the whole being ability to be able to retain good talent, right? And I think in retail it's becoming more and more complex. And it's we talked about stall, but otherwise as well, it's not about 500 rupee. I think, as Manish was saying, that the connection with your line of reporting or connection with the brand in some shape and form. So as I call it internally, human connection, which connects the brand and the last man standing. Are you able to establish that? Because I've seen markets, and I think we talk about instant gratification, and I have seen there are managers in my teams who just spend 2 hours only training. And they say Thursday 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. boss, I will not do anything. I'm just going to train. And they train across. And I think that's how you're able to establish. And we have seen attrition going up 40% to coming down to single digits. And I think ability to be able to do and build those human connections and have a common purpose with which the brand is associated and being able to live up with the last man standing in pharmacy. That I think is the biggest problem I think most retail brands face, especially for us.
I think this is a common problem, and I agree because brands like Wooqer, brands like FabIndia, where the last level of interaction with the customer is very important. The customer also wants you to actually interact, to understand why you are priced at what you are priced at. Right? Similarly, Kama has a protection, right? So I mean, like, there are so many brands which are available. So when Manish spoke about doctor sitting, it was like a service which was being offered, right? And we also have people, I mean, like very recently, around 15, 20 years back, we had a person who retired after some 41 years in FabIndia. So we also have those kind of people who have actually worked with us for generations, and now they want to go back to their villages and lead a different life. It's also that things have also changed. I mean, like the younger generation wants things to happen much more faster. So no matter what you do, retention still remains a challenge. In places like Bangalore, in places like Hyderabad, no matter what you do, retention will be a problem. You can know people by name. You can, I mean, like, do whatever you want to. I remember because when I was being interviewed in FabIndia, Mr. Datta, who was the CEO at that point of time, he asked me, how well do you know your team? And I was working with Biba then. And I said that out of the 160 stores that I have, I can write names of 150 store managers straight away without actually referring to any Excel sheets. So that's the kind of connect that happens. And yes, you are right, actually, it flows down because then people actually try to see what you are doing and they try to step into your shoes. But having said that, I think it is also a matter of time because things change. In fact, very recently we have done a change in an incentive policy, and I can say that probably the incentive policy that we are running is probably one of the best in the industry. That's basically to retain people, because sales is also about not only about a fixed cost but also about variable. And I've actually personally gone and explained people that if you are actually going to do this, from the old incentive policy, you want to earn at least 18-20% more than what you have actually been earning. But again, yes, it's the company earns, you earn. If the company is not earning, you are not actually earning money for yourself also. So different things which you keep on doing, and I think for a brand to go forward, for all the things that we are talking about, experiential retail, retailment, services, attending the customer, ensuring that the things are in place, working for 12 hours or 14 hours in a day, having good people on the floor is very, very important. And yes, we have a challenge on our hands because it's a younger generation. They want results very fast. I mean, like, and probably we have to really figure a way out as to how we can actually address this also, along with the other challenges that we have in our hands.
I have a question, like, one is brands invest a lot in the trainings, employee trainings and all. I don't know how much we are investing there. Yeah, I would love to understand what kind of trainings, what kind of investments, like there is an investment, but what do we invest in? I'll give you an example, like being a retailer, we keep going, hopping across the shops also. At times you want a retail therapy, or at times you want to understand the competition. Yeah. So recently, like I had some sports requirement equipment, so I just hopped across 4 or 5 shops at the Select City and the neighboring mall. Of course, the experience, you know, right from Adidas till Nike to Essex to Under Armour, I realized there are, like, we have invested so much in the infrastructure, in getting the products, in getting the VM and everything done. But unless being Indian, of course, to be served, as you rightly said, being Indian, if I don't get that experience, I hop across to the next. And I'm sure the brands are investing, but how are we, like, and we all have our, you know, those, the mystery shoppers and all that. But still, somewhere, I feel if you don't have the motivated people, I go to Decathlon. That's for a reason, because Decathlon builds a community for, yeah. But with the other brands, maybe after 5 brands, because I was in that retail thing also, I said, okay, no, I'm not buying from Nike. No, I'm not buying from, no, I'm just naming Adidas and all that. And then I reached the last one and I said, yes, this is the person who's actually giving me the actual advice. Said, okay, hold on. If you're a runner, don't buy right now. I understand your requirement. It's a Delhi and all that stuff. In 2 weeks, I'm getting this product. So then you come and you buy. And lo and behold, yes, yeah, I went back and I shopped from that person. I waited for a week. So what kind of investments are we doing? How are we ensuring that, okay, we have the right people? So that's one question which keeps coming back to us again and again. So, okay.
Yeah, it does again.
No, that's good. So, I think what you've raised as a point is valid, right? What do you invest behind that, right? And how you, but you see, somewhere in your question you answered, right? It's look at the Decathlon model, right? Building communities, right? You're taking people to have a passion for what they're doing. You're giving them something that they enjoy doing, and you're empowering them. And the thing with Adidas, with Decathlon, unlike some of the other brands, that's what they've been missing now, is empowering our team to actually talk to the consumer and take certain decisions and help the consumer, right? The ability to say, don't buy something today because it's not right for you.
I knew it, of course, that was,
but
yeah.
It's not easy for them to say that. Because there's always the pressure for business, for targets. How do you balance that with what is right? So I think somewhere in all our trainings that we do, we train a lot on product, we train a lot on selling skills, but what we're not training them on actually is really connecting with the consumer and taking it to the next level. Now I'll take that example that we actually implemented this in Adidas, and I don't know if it's still running there, because we changed the service model. We changed the service model from a process-driven service model to a storytelling service model, which we call the Connect, Engage, Inspire model. where we completely moved away from the usual, you greet a consumer, then you do this, and you do this, and you do this, and then you close the sale, to how do you tell the right stories to the consumer? Engage with them, understand them, engage with them, tell them stories that matter to them, then inspire them to buy the right product. It's a very tough one to implement because when you reach a certain scale, it gets very difficult to scale it up. It's very easy to do at smaller levels, but it's very difficult to scale it up.
I'll put another perspective to this, Manish. So every brand should know what they stand for.
Yes.
And I'll give you some analogies. You go to a McDonald's, you want quick service. So that's what you expect. And that's what the brand is clear they want that to happen. You go to a Zara showroom, you don't expect to be served. You only expect the merchandise to be fresh. You want it to be replenished. You go to a wedding wear store, you expect to be served in a certain way. You want chai, you want them to even get you food. So as a brand, you should be very clear. What do you stand for? What are the three things the consumer should expect in your store? What are the three things they should not expect in your store? If you start telling them कि सब कुछ करना है, तो शायद कुछ भी नहीं होगा. So just giving these analogies, you go to a store, you know what to expect. So for example, you go to Indigo airline, you know you will be greeted in a certain manner, right? And you're expecting to be on time. You may not expect that to be in SpiceJet. You might expect the cheapest fare possible, the basic service possible. So as brands, we have to be very clear. But it's an Adidas brand where we stand for stories. It's a Decathlon brand where we expect the sales staff to have exact knowledge about the product he sells because they hire people from those particular sports.
The person who doesn't play cannot be hired.
Yeah, they cannot be hired. So we all as leaders, so for example, Pankaj running a Bata store has to be very clear. These are the 5 things a consumer should expect in my store, and I would expect my people to do that. Don't run after everything. Run after what you stand for.
That's very valid.
Balanced EQ is also EQ and IQ, I think both.
I'll also share some examples here. And I personally adopted one of these from the training perspective. So early on, I heard a lot of the retail things they're talking about. The fact that in our part of the world, the retail employee is a different social strata than the buyer. In Europe and US, that's not the case. Over there, the retail employee is a student doing part-time work and very confident speaking to customers. I've shopped in a Nordstrom or a Macy's store, and they're trained to not interfere or say, "Can I help you?" We don't intrude because the buyer behavior is different. But they'll very quietly come and start, organizing clothes in the next aisle. And on the side, "Oh, that piece you are holding, this was our bestseller last summer," or something. They would just pass a comment on the side to connect. And if you want help, you'll talk to them because they're around and they're shuffling things there. And sometimes you can even tell they are just shuffling it and not really organizing. But they're trained to be available without intrusion. In India, we have a slightly different problem that there are different social strata, and many of them are not confident walking up to a customer. I may know all the theory of that shoe, but I'm not confident walking up to this guy who looks like a CEO and giving him advice. So one thing I've seen running successfully in several brands, and as I mentioned, I've also adopted that for our practices. When a new season or a new range is launched, a contest where they're invited to engage with the range. Dress a mannequin or dress yourself and do a model hunt. Look of the season, model hunt. So those kind of opportunities where they are given an incentive in the form of recognition, usually there's no money involved, or maybe some movie tickets or but they are given an opportunity to engage with the merchandise and create looks which will allow them to get that confidence. Ki, "Arey, aap ye blazer try kar rahe ho, why don't you try this scarf with it? It really looks good." Because they've tried it. Because for that one look, the one picture they'll submit, there will be 50 that they would have tried. Another example of this is kind of a videos, pictures. This is something that we use, and I also see a lot of people using in high engagement products. I've seen this with pens at William Penn. I've seen this with one of our consumer durables customer. That there's a contest, and all of you have to record a video pitching this product. and send us videos back. Even my team, every time a new employee joins, they have to do this. They have to make a pitch and record a video and submit back. For that one video they submit, they do 23 iterations, 25 iterations on an average. And that is the process of learning and more importantly building confidence, because their problem usually is not knowledge. Their problem is how to deliver and the confidence of delivery, which can only happen with practice. And the way to encourage that practice is to give them an opportunity to send something back. Like this consumer durables company I was mentioning, we did this exercise. The winner videos became the training content for everyone subsequently. And they shared their numbers that there was a 15% increase in sales, 20% increase in conversion. Of 1,600 people, 150 went on to doubling sales. And I think that's a very classic case of self-learning, because in adult learning, I may know all the theory, but that means very little. I have to be willing to apply and I have to practice. There is no substitute to practice. So creating opportunities for practice.
That's a very valid. But I want to go back to your first part, what you mentioned, which was about how the retail staff is looked upon or a role in retail is looked upon. And I have my own personal example of that, right? When I joined retail after my MBA, right, and I joined Shoppers Stop, and some of the things that I heard from home, right, from friends or from MBA karke jute bechega ya kapde bechega, that kind of stuff, right? But just to give you an example, I think yes, but that has to change. And it's a social cause at the end of the day, but whatever you want to call it. It has to change first from within the organization. And that's why we said, that it's about integrating, making them feel part of the family, being part of the, decision making, empowering them with something. When you do things like this, where you say, okay, you are part of the, create your own look, that's empowering them to create their own look. They have to feel that they're part of the decision making. It's about listening to them when you talk to them. So when we used to do town halls, right? Whether I did it in Adidas or whether we did it in other brands, the town hall, the idea of the town hall was as much to listen into them and take their feedback. What's working, what's not working, what is the consumer saying? Because what they say or their suggestions could make a huge difference to how you do things. Because they're talking to the consumer day in and day out. But also the fact and the reason why we started this of having back-end staff go down to the ground and actually sell and face the consumer is to break it down for them and make them understand how tough a job it is to stand on the floor for 10 hours a day. Just to stand on the floor for 10 hours a day. Forget about selling. Forget about managing customers who can be disrespectful, some could be very pleasant, some could be very unpleasant. The full spectrum of customers. So till the time you do not step into those shoes, you do not realize what they're going through. And so a lot of times I've seen very senior people from retail industry walk into stores and not be the most pleasant customers into another brand, despite being from retail. So till the time you don't step in there and you do that job, you do not understand what they go through. So that whole breaking down that barrier and elevating what it means is as important for the management to take decisions to do, right? And things like this definitely help of empowering them. But I think more importantly, and that's why I feel very close to this, is having everybody go to the store and sell on the floor at least once a quarter, if not once a month. It's very important because when they start selling on the floor, they spend a full day there, they really understand what it means to actually manage the customer. And not just sit in the back and tell them, yaar, sale nahi kari sakte. Ye kya hai?
Any other questions anyone else has? Okay, then just one lighter note before we break for conversations over snacks. The funniest incident that has happened to you in store or any of your stores?
Okay, I'll tell you a funny one. So my second day in my new job, so I met a few people initially, someone from HR, someone from marketing. So one of my, so I went to the store, the Southex store, and I mistook someone for being the retail HR head, and I asked him, "Ki store manager की हम salary कितनी देते हैं?" So he looked at me like, "कि आपको decide करना है तो." मैं कहा तुम कैसे HR के बंदे हो यार, तुम मुझे बोल रहे हो? कह रहे मैं HR तो हुई नहीं, मैं तो चीफ डिजाइनर हूँ यहाँ पे। And I later realized I missed. I mean, it's a small example. I just mistook someone, and it was very embarrassing for me. The second day in the job, I'm asking all the wrong questions to wrong people.
I'll give a very old example, right? And this is probably just coming from what you said, right? And why it was funny, but it was also an eye opener for me, and at a very young age, right? I was working at Shoppers, right? And I used to be at the Andheri store. So I had the privilege of working at the Andheri store in the year 2000, when it was like the mecca for retail in India, right? And I'm sorry, that gives away my age, but I should be careful. But anyway, so we had a general manager, store unit head at that time, called Sajad. Sajad was one of those guys who would be on the floor, right? When we talk about, so out of 10 hours, 8 hours on the floor. And he used to, so if you remember, if you guys have ever, anybody has ever been there, it's got these, because it was a movie hall, right? So there are these two large staircases going up. You could stand on one side of the staircase and see the full ground floor, right? And he would stand over there and keep looking. And there was this one customer in the leathers department, to call it, troubling the staff like crazy, right? Like crazy means like crazy, right? Every wallet that the guy would show to him, ye kya hai? Isme to mere cards hi nahi fit aayenge. I'm talking about that time when somebody would have a credit card was a big thing. This guy probably had 3 or 4 or 5 credit cards, right? ये क्या है, ये इसमें ये नहीं है, इसमें ये पॉकेट नहीं है, इसमें वो पॉकेट नहीं है. 10 we were watching it, so I was also standing, we were watching it. 5-6 minutes went by. Sajad said, Manish, wait. He went up to the customer. Sir, let me help you, right? I mean, I know he's not able to, let me help you, let me be there for you, right? Customer says, I'm looking for a wallet that can fit. See, I have got 4 cards. I'm not able to fit my cards. और ये कार्ड तो मेरा फिट ही नहीं होता इसमें ये. Sajad said, sir, see, I picked up a wallet. I said, buy this wallet. He said, I'm using the same wallet. Handed that wallet to the customer, took out his wallet. See, I'm using the same wallet. I've got 5 credit cards. The customer went, just went blank. Quietly took the wallet, walked to the cash point, paid, and walked out. But that was an example of how you politely manage a customer who's being difficult just for the sake of being difficult. Right? But he was like that. He had that habit of. And that's somewhere where I learned that, yes, as far as the customer is always right, what's very important is for you to always stand for your team as well. Not to let them just roll over your team. But it was a very funny incident for me because I was killing myself laughing after that. You know, when I saw the customer's face, it was such a funny thing to see. Because the customer went red, blank, just took the wallet, paid for it, did not ask a single question, and just walked out.
That reminds me of an incident. So I studied at AIMS here in Delhi, and one of my friends, he was posted in the village as part of those internship village postings. And some patient came and said, "बहुत मच्छर काटते हैं डॉक्टर साहब." And उसका एक कछुआ tortoise. Anyway, thanks so much to all of you for joining me today. And with that, we'll say goodbye to our digital audience joining the stream. Thanks all of you to also for joining it. And let's wait for snacks and we'll continue the conversations. Please take the opportunity to talk to each other, get to know each other. The intent is really that, and mostly the conversations here. Thanks. Let's just.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you show me?
Just before I joined.
Oh, you joined?
I joined really in 21. I joined in 21.
Okay.
I was there for a short time.
Which?
I was in.
Regarding the colleagues in Monica from more houses, so my is supposed to join, but so suddenly he said to me, I left. Yeah, thanks to Shari also.